The Veiled Conclave. The mist hung low over the cobblestone streets of Arkan, a city older than memory itself. It was said that beneath its bustling markets and grand cathedrals lay secrets forgotten by all but the Veiled Conclave, a shadowy order of mages and fighters bound by an ancient oath. Darius, a disgraced knight turned sellsword, trudged through the alleys, his hand never far from the hilt of his battered sword. Tonight was different. The air thrummed with an unnatural energy, and his instincts, honed through years of battle, warned him to stay vigilant. He had taken a contract to escort a cloaked scholar, a woman who called herself Ilara, to the Whispering Spire. The Spire, an ominous tower at the edge of the city, was rumored to be a place where reality bent to the will of those who knew its secrets. Ilara had paid him well, but her cryptic words left him uneasy. "The world is not as it seems, Sir Darius," she had said, her voice steady yet tinged with urgency. "The stars are shifting. The veil thins. The journey begins." As they approached the spire, the fog thickened and the air grew colder. Ilara murmured words under her breath, her hands weaving strange symbols in the air. Light flickered faintly around her, illuminating runes etched into the cobblestones. "What are you doing?" Darius demanded, gripping his sword tighter. "Protection," she replied. "We're being watched." Before he could respond, shadows coalesced into forms around them, men and women draped in tattered cloaks, their faces hidden beneath featureless masks. "The Veiled Conclave," Ilara whispered. "They don't want us to reach the spire." Darius stepped forward, his sword gleaming in the faint light. "Stay behind me." The masked figures moved with inhuman speed, their weapons glinting with an eerie blue glow. Darius fought fiercely, each swing of his blade met with sparks and the unearthly hum of magic. Ilara stood at his back, her chants growing louder, the air around her rippling with power. One of the figures lunged, and Darius barely parried in time. The force sent him sprawling, and the masked enemy raised their weapon for a killing blow. Ilara's voice rang out, and a wave of energy surged forward, disintegrating the attacker in a burst of light. "They're not human!" Darius shouted, regaining his footing. "No," Ilara agreed. "They're echoes of those who failed before us." The Spire's secret. The battle raged until the final figure fell, dissolving into mist. Exhausted and battered, Darius and Ilara reached the base of the Whispering Spire. The door, an intricate design of interlocking sigils, pulsed with a faint blue light. Ilara placed her hand on the door, and it creaked open, revealing a vast chamber lined with books, artifacts, and glowing orbs. At the center stood a pedestal, atop which rested a crystal shard emitting a mesmerizing light. "What is that?" Darius asked, awestruck. "The fragment of ether," Ilara said. "It's what they were guarding, and what I've been seeking. With it, we can restore balance to the veil before it collapses entirely." As she reached for the shard, the room trembled, and a low growl echoed from the shadows. A monstrous figure stepped into the light, a guardian of the spire, its body a grotesque amalgamation of metal and flesh, its eyes glowing with malice. "Get ready, Sir Darius," Ilara said, her voice calm but firm. "Our greatest challenge lies ahead. The Guardian awakens." The creature stepped forward, its movements unnaturally smooth, the sound of grinding metal and low growls filling the chamber. Its hulking frame was adorned with arcane sigils that pulsed like a heartbeat, each pulse sending ripples through the air. Darius tightened his grip on his sword, his battered body protesting every movement. Ilara, standing beside him, raised her hands, and the room was bathed in a soft, golden glow. Whatever that thing is, Darius muttered, it's not going down easy. Ilara nodded. It's the final ward of the spire. It was created to protect the fragment from those unworthy of wielding its power. And how do we prove we're worthy? We survive. The fight for the shard. The Guardian lunged, its massive claw swiping at Darius. He barely dodged, rolling to the side and slashing at its leg. The blade glanced off its metallic hide, leaving only a faint scratch. "Ilara," he shouted, "I can't cut through it." "I need time," she replied, her voice strained as she chanted an incantation, the glow around her intensifying. The creature turned its attention to her, its glowing eyes narrowing. Darius saw the shift and charged, slamming his sword into the joint of its arm. Sparks flew as the limb jerked back, momentarily immobilized. "Over here, you tin-plated monstrosity," he bellowed, drawing its focus back to him. The Guardian roared, its claws slamming into the ground where Darius had stood a moment before. He stumbled, exhaustion catching up to him, but his determination burned brighter. "Ilara, whatever you're doing, do it faster." The arcane gambit. Ilara's chant reached a crescendo, and the golden light around her coalesced into a sphere that shot toward the Guardian. The energy struck its chest, and the sigils adorning its body flickered. The creature let out an ear-piercing wail, its movements becoming erratic. "It's vulnerable now," Ilara cried. Darius didn't hesitate. He surged forward, driving his sword into the Guardian's chest where the sigils had dimmed. The blade sank in, and with a final deafening roar, the creature collapsed, its body crumbling into ash and shards of metal. The fragment of ether. The chamber fell silent, save for the faint hum of the shard on the pedestal. Darius leaned heavily on his sword, his breaths ragged. "You could have mentioned the giant metal monster earlier," he said, glaring at Ilara. "I didn't know it would still be functional," she replied with a wry smile. "Functional." He gestured at the pile of debris. "That thing nearly killed us." Ilara ignored his complaint and approached the pedestal. Carefully, she lifted the shard, its light illuminating her face. For a moment, the weariness in her eyes vanished, replaced by awe and determination. "This," she said softly, "is the key to restoring the balance. With the fragment, we can stabilize the veil and prevent the conclave from tearing our world apart." Darius sheathed his sword and approached her. "What happens now?" "Now," Ilara said, "we take the fight to them. The conclave won't stop until they control every fragment of ether. But with this, we have a chance."